It's April 16th, 2022. I'm just thinking from a planetary perspective. The word planet has the word plan, P-L-A-N. And then it's the E. And then there's the T. For when you have something in your sights, there's a cross. I am currently here. So I'm thinking, if I was to speak to something important, which interplanetary being, I think the humans use the word self, but they are also not elf on a shelf. Zwulf. So if that's the case, I'm thinking the terminology that they gave, it's like there is the berserk. I mean, there's the intimidator, and then there's the ballerina. So, in that 1-2 punch of maybe kangaroo court or whatever, if I was speaking planet of my interior, I feel very lackluster. Lackluster. Non abouti. And in the je ne sais quoi, in les États-Unis, I mean, they spell it one way en français, but en anglais, say is S-A-Y. So it is important for other reasons. In n'est pas, there is no fatherland that I have access to daily here. There perhaps is a sibling relationship. I don't want sibling rivalry, but I don't know where motherland, fatherland, nobody knows these things. I was watching in an exterior planetary way of porthole, not in physical proximity with Lynn and Lou for conversations, but they were speaking of Ukraine this morning, and they were making picture art work, like Anthony made the, or my cat scratch made the cardinal, and he made George Washington, looks like a Dutch George Washington to me, with an American flag and a British flag on a horse going down a path. They were speaking of the children and their fantasies. Again, I say a lot, I'm not a big fan, or it's not my cup of tea at times. These are things that I say in regards to et parler, regardez-moi, but not necessarily parlez-vous avec moi. I mean, I don't know, it's like what speaks to you. But the humans, they use this word depression. I find them absolutely revolting. I mean, I stood with a man yesterday, and he worked for this in the BS. I personally can see the BS, but whatever, in the exterior planet. So we stood on an exterior planet. I spoke my interior to his arrival, and I said, he kept saying that kept staring at the people. I'm like, on the street. I'm like, why? The least important thing in this town are those people. But I mean, again, I didn't say that. I just kept quiet. He's like, I always want to know, like, where are they coming from? What are they doing? And I'm like, why? They're just characters that were painted in this evening. They're not from around here. I mean, and then I showed him that I sat on the corner and I watched the traffic pattern, the foot traffic pattern. I was amongst them. Not that I was head counting, I wasn't going specifical. Just in a, how many faces can, in over a long period of time, do I see repeated? What is the dress in the area? Is there anything unusual in the area? And in a and in a very discreet way, like not. So anyway, so he's like, yeah, he's like, but I always wonder, like, where are they coming from? What are they? I was like, yeah, you want to know what I think about? I said, look at the architecture of these buildings. I was like, they just don't make sense. And then he said a key up word to me for diagnostics. I was just like, whoop. He said, bizarre. And I go, yeah, that word is very interesting, bizarre. I was like, it is. Have you ever seen the movie Aladdin? Like the Disney version. I don't know if they made any other versions, but the Disney version Aladdin. He goes, yeah. I was like, right, so that's that's what this town feels to me, is almost like that open market, but like if Agrabah met Metropolitan or like the city of New York, because none of this makes sense. You've got pyramids over there that look like they've got Giza employees. I was like, over here you have Shanghai. And he's like, yeah, he's like, my brother hangs out at the Bourbon Street. I was like, right, exactly. Now you've got New Orleans in America. I mean, like, it's a weird phenomenon with the congregation or the people that walk. But again, for the most part, I don't even look at their faces because. So I was like, so I look at other things. I look at their signage. I look at how, like, the individual signage, I think on it, their symbols that they use, their colors that they use. I was like, then I take it out a little bit, then I, like, I pull it out and I look, Grandeur Concourse. I was like, and it's just a very, what are they trying to speak of? Because it doesn't feel right in the area. I was like, that's what I'm more interested in. I was like, but the people, like, he's like, he says, here, he's like, I'll give you an example. He goes, see this guy, he's wearing like a 3-piece suit and like everybody else is whatever. And I was like, right, yeah, so somebody painted him in differently this evening than somewhere else. I was like, here, look. I was like, look at the tops of the buildings. Because, I mean, like, everybody walks at the store level, but nobody really checks out. I was like, that building over there, it doesn't even give like a year in architectural space. I was like, it has this weird top to it, and some of the other ones, I was like, I can't even pinpoint a year that this all got. I said, it almost feels like a Hollywood set in like this wild set design where nothing makes sense and they were all just placed here randomly. Like that's just the feel I get. He goes, yeah, he's like, this more I stand here and I'm looking at he's like, no, he's like, but you know what, he says, you're like the most organic person I've spoken to. I said, well, I appreciate that. I was like, thank you. But again, it's like, I know for me, the worst possible thing for a woman is to lose their lack or to lack luster. And not in a depressive kind of way, because it's not. I mean, humans in their nature at this point are depressing. But again, it's just the storyline that they've, in this area, that they've pulled for. So it's like, I don't know. It's not impressive. It's depressing. I find the whole thing revolting. But I have since I arrived, 1978. It's just gotten worse. But then, like, all of a sudden, like, a sign of life and a sign of somewhat intelligent walks on the street, and we have this wonderful conversation. But then he leaves. And I know he lives kind of sort of in the area, but not really. Like, I mean, if I won't see him on a daily basis. Like, I'll see the pizza guy. I see him a lot more from different pizzerias around here, on the street, the business owners, but in very specific locations, because I don't have money to go to the, like, restaurants and things. But I've spent a lot of time on the streets in Bayside, but in a very, I guess, pragmatic way or dogmatic way. I don't know what the proper term for that is. I guess a little bit of both, because I toggle between the atmosphere and the environment. And then I told him about the moon disappearing. Again, more atmospheric, climactic. I was like, and then I explained to him the experience. I'm like, I go home. Now that's at my interior planetary, which is Lin and Lu, my daily proximate. Like, they're like, yeah, so? Like, couldn't possibly be. And even if it was, who cares? Like, that's their feelings. So it's like, right. I was like, so now this, like, major, to me, celestial body event happened. I was like, and who do I tell? I was like, who's my first phone call? I don't have one. I was like, I went to tell my parents. They really don't care. I was like, and there is nobody else. I was like, it's glitter that just scattered in, like, a generation, and I have no access to them. I wouldn't even know who would be interested in hearing about something like that. I was like, in fact, I had to rope in a neighbor to ask him if he saw what I saw, just so I didn't seem crazy. Because I come back to my house and they're like, is the moon still outside? Like a bunch of fucking assholes. Oh, so it is just so frustrating. I really hate being human. I hate this whole situation. I hate this whole character setup. I hate this whole living arrangement and environment. I hate being held captive with people that are really so useless, in every sense of the word since I arrived. I hate having all of the opportunity and doors just evaporate into thin air and nobody gives a shit. That's what I hate most. Like, individual hate? No, not really. I spread that equally amongst humanity, because at some point, somewhere, there's fault in the system. Someone took too much from here, someone gave too much there, someone created something here. It's null and void. I mean, I don't know, whatever. So, at Planetarium, to distinguish the difference, if I'm a timeless masterpiece, which I think they call classic, what if I put on the ace hat again, which I still have, and then do planetarium stuff? Oh, conversation really feels very much the same. Hat really didn't change anything in Bonnie Bonnets. For the moment, I mean, I still feel lackluster. I don't like the way my physiology's, like, I'm having trouble with performing, not at like ballet level, not at Bishirk level, but just in being able to hold myself upright and to keep my metabolism within a set range. Just sudden onset of weight, it's unacceptable. The fact my knees are swollen, I have pain throughout my joints. There's no outside bug it could be. Then I'm watching the commercial or the movie for Inner Space with Dennis Quaid and Martin Short. I remember that entire movie. I don't know if that has something to do with the airline, where I sat on the airline and something poked me through the seat. I also remember someone was kicking my seat from behind as well. That was really obnoxious and annoying. I don't know if they were unaware of how the seat would get triggered, but again, getting on an airline with a bunch of strangers, not knowing who installed the seat, what manufacturer, who built the airplane, who might have put someone's college project in a swapped out possibility of a seat that might have some trigger switch that when somebody sits down could possibly stick them. Seen it in a movie once. Doesn't make it right. And I don't know who gives that level of permission out. But I don't know why I seem to be like a target for these things. And why everybody always pretends like they don't know anything. That's a real problem. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. And today's April 16th, 2022.